Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org for more info, or you can always email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Calvin Cassady. We're going to be discussing his amazing memoir, Bridging the Gap, a spiritual journey to heaven and back. Now, it's available for purchase through Amazon, barnesandnoble.com, pretty much wherever books are sold. But people, if you want to gather everything that Calvin has in store, do yourself a favor and head directly to his personal site, calvincassady.com. There you'll find more information on him, more information on this fantastic book, as well as find hyperlinks set up to take you to the purchasing page. One more time, that's calvincassady.com. And I do want to quickly take this opportunity and point out that Calvin was brought to our network, People of Distinction, today by one of the best publishers in the business, AuthorFlex Media. So if you're a writer out there and you have a book that you've created but you need help moving it, I'm going to give you some fantastic advice. You need to contact AuthorFlex. They're one of the best in the business to do it. Head on over to authorflexmedia.com today and gather all the ways that they can help you. And listen, it is a true pleasure, an absolute delight to have Calvin here on the line. Now, as I mentioned to you before, it's a memoir that we're going to be discussing today. So right there, you know that we're going to be talking about his life. We're going to be talking about his journey that he's embarked upon. And I often love having authors on our network that have written memoirs because, people, we know that life is filled with adversity, right? Life is filled with challenges. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you come from, what your background is. You are going to encounter some challenges along the way. Now, we never like going through them once it's happening, but we know that the benefit, the silver lining, if you're willing to look at it from that perspective, is once you have worked through those challenges or any given moment of adversity, that experience equates to wisdom. Well, what if I told you that it doesn't always have to be your particular experience that wisdom derives from? And that's what we have in store today. Okay, this is a guide for readers. It's a religious, inspirational narrative that is all pulled from Calvin's life. You're going to want to get lost in this because I promise you, listen, you may not be able to relate to everything that he is going to discuss today. You may not be able to relate to everything that is found in the book, but I promise you, there's going to be so much wisdom that you can gain and really implement into your day-to-day lives. I'm a very firm believer that there are no wins and losses in life. It's all about perception. There are wins and lessons in life. And even through those dark moments, there are silver linings. Even through those dark moments where you see nothing but clouds, there can be some little rays of sunshine coming through if you choose to view it from a different perspective. And people, that's a lot of what we have in store here today. And at the end of the day, Calvin is the expert. It's his life he's pulling from. He's going to be able to articulate it much better than I ever could. So do me a favor. Sit back, strap in, and have your notebooks ready because he's about to take us back to school. Okay, this is going to be a wonderful education you're going to be able to receive here, and nobody knows it as well as he does. Calvin, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, and thanks for this opportunity.
Absolutely. Listen, we're truly looking forward to this. I meant what I said in my opening. I think there's a lot to be gained here. So giving you the opportunity was really our honor, and we're looking forward to picking your brain a little bit and really scratching the surface because I know there's only so much we're going to be able to cover in a 20-minute interview, but we're gonna jump right in. Since this book is a memoir, we're going to cover your background as well. So let's go right into it. Bridging the Gap, a spiritual journey to heaven and back. Tell us a little bit more about that as well as your background.
Okay, I'd like to begin by saying that just recently, the best way I have to describe the book is Bridging the Gap, the journey that changed everything. I mean, after you have a heavenly experience, after you talk to God face to face, after you've received specific instructions on what his plan is, then you take that all with you, and you work with people. The book is based on experiences, and it's based on some stories, and the stories help tell the big story, and that's we all are capable of helping to build the kingdom. We are, we have a mission that is very accomplishable, and I think people kind of stand back and they just don't know what they're capable of doing with God's help.
Calvin, what inspired you to embark upon this journey?
Well, it was a story. It took a long time to get the courage to write the book because of the fact that there is some mystique involved. I mean, there's a lot of people that would think, so he talks to God, so he seeing God, what's going on here? And I needed a little age and some more wisdom because I knew that would be something that I needed to deal with. But the story was so good that I couldn't help but tell it. And the more I went through life, things just kept getting more and more obvious that the story needed to be told. People need to understand that, God is there to help us all, and he's there to help us all help each other.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Calvin, we've already encountered some words of wisdom and some advice, but I want to go even further here with this next question. When it comes to advice or words of wisdom that you can offer to your readers, to our listening audience, for anybody that finds themselves in a moment of darkness, in a moment, and I know this is broad and it's almost unfair to ask because, of course, it's always going to be as unique as the individual circumstance and the individual. But try to entertain myself and my listening audience for anybody out there that finds themselves going through a really tough time and can't seem to see the light at the end of the tunnel. What are some words of wisdom that you can offer them to really maybe illuminate their path?
There are so many people like that now, especially after the COVID and with gun violence and everything else that's going on in the world. Yes, the world is full of people that are lonely and that need to be loved. And I think that's the key right there. People need to be loved, and they need to be able to trust. And if you're going through a time that seems to be impossible, my first is to just give it over to God, tell him your situations, and be patient. Most people don't think that. Honest to God, most people don't think that they can talk to God. Because, we're used to having instant gratification. We want an answer right now. And sometimes in troubling situations, answers are a long time coming. And you've got to accept the fact that what you want and what is best for you may be two different things. And I learned that while I was teaching school. There was a lot of kids that thought they knew what was best for them, but I'd struggle with them to try to get them on the right path.
People, again, we're here on the line with Calvin Cassady. We're discussing his book, Bridging the Gap, A Spiritual Journey to Heaven and Back. Available for purchase through Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, but remember to check out his personal site, CalvinCassady.com. Calvin, next question, really a curiosity for myself here, but what would you say was a highlight for you in writing this book? Or if not a highlight, maybe something that surprised you that you weren't anticipating before you embarked upon it?
Well, anytime you review something, you always see things that you didn't see when you first started. You write the words, you edit the words, and then the book's published, and you go back and you read, and you're thinking, yeah, I did a pretty good job there, and I'm certainly inspired, and that's a great feeling. But I couldn't, pass this by without saying that spiritual encounter actually, and I refer to the car crash. I mean, this had all the elements of adventure. You had a car crash, the car burns. There's angels, there's heaven, and in this particular, there was a lot of blood. So you throw those things out, and people are kind of interested in hearing what your story's all about. But I like to say that from that accident, my soul was set free. When the heart monitors flatlined on the ambulance on the way to the hospital, my soul was set free, and that part is probably the best part of the book. But I'm not going to talk too much about it, and I'll tell you now, it's not a long part, but it's very descriptive, very concise, and maybe the next most difficult part was, well, I'm going to tell you this story. I thought that, I bartered with God because I wanted to go back to Earth so bad. But then you say, what amazed me the most, when I got finished reading the book several times, I realized that I didn't have any control over it at all. It was God's work from the very beginning. And that made it even more important to me.
Yeah. Calvin, I love what you're talking about here. And people, listen, this has all of the works to be a television series or a Hollywood film, because these things, this is amazing. I mean, like, if we didn't have Calvin here to say it for us, and as he said, listen, when you pick up the book, he doesn't hold back, right? There's no held punches here. It's going to be very descriptive, and it's quick, but it is very descriptive. So you're going to learn all about it. But if we didn't have him here to discuss it, if we didn't have this book here to read from, I don't know if I'd believe it, right? This circumstance that he had gone through is absolutely incredible. I'm telling you, maybe you haven't been through an accident. Maybe you haven't been through a life-altering situation, right? Maybe your circumstances aren't as drastic. But if you read between the lines and you see what he gained from that and shift your perception, this is something that needs to be on your shelf. This is a fantastic resource to add to your shelf, an even better gift to add to someone else's, because there's so much education to be learned here. Calvin, as we start to close out, last few questions here and really honing it in, I know that we've already touched upon this, but I think that this is so profound. This is so important that it's worth doubling down on and repeating. Two-part question here. One, who is your intended audience with this book? And two, what is the main message that you hope that they receive from it upon completion of reading it?
It's a general audience type publication. I've known people that read chapters of this book to their younger children before they went to bed at night because they felt that it was that inspirational. I have older people that read the book, and it just does their heart good. That's what they tell me. And it's a fresh way of looking at a very, very complicated, and I don't say this over sensationalizing, but the world we live in is very cold and very much full of sin.
Yeah.
And every day we walk out our front door, we have to make decisions that whose team are we going to be on. And after you read this book, you kind of have you kind of know that you don't want to be in that feel bad group. You want to be in the feel good group, and you want to know that you have the power to make that neighbor or that child, if you're a teacher, or that coworker, you have the power to work through them and their lives and make their life a better play, or better, that they can enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so important right now. And I guess the main purpose of the book is to show people that, it's not rocket science. You use the Bible, You use examples, you use experiences that you can find in the book, and know that I'm just a regular person. I don't have anything to do with the church, except I am on the vestry at my local Episcopal church now. But anybody, God doesn't send everybody to heaven for a flash shot, snapshot, but He's there for all of us. And if that's what you need, I'm sure He would do it for you. And a lot of people that I've talked to now, and remember I said I was kind of squeamish about just, going for what it was. But almost every time I have make a talk with groups, I'll have people come afterwards and, I had the same thing happen to me, or my mother did this kind of experience. And some people that I worked through COVID. And one of the first persons that I knew that died assured me, because it was a coworker, and we talked freely about spiritual things, and she ended up having she deadlined 3 different times,
Wow.
and she after the second time, she sent word with her sister that to be sure and tell me that it was everything that I told her it'd be, and the life she was living was pretty rough, and I was pretty sure that she was on her way home, because she obviously God had laid it out for her, and she was ready to go. And with my father and my father-in-law, it was the same way. They were both ready to go when the time came. And it hurts to lose somebody, but it would hurt more to know that. And when you think in retrospect, you wouldn't want them living somewhere where the life was just too difficult for them to manage.
Right.
So that may have hit me harder than anything. I mean, I can't go to a funeral. When somebody dies, I just want to yell hooray. But you don't want to do that. You want to be kind of quiet about that, because sometimes the family doesn't see it that way. But I always see it that way, because I know, if I ever wrote anything new, it might be on rebranding death, because, if you read the Bible and you believe, that's the biggest day of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Things are going to change for you, and we try to, it's just a sad time if you let it be. But I'm hopeful, because I'm beginning to. I read obituaries all the time, and I go to funerals, and I know several guys that are funeral directors, and I'm starting to see a little bit of lightening up and a little bit of, it's a great day. So I know I kind of drug this down to the grave, but to me, that may be the thing that sticks with me and that gives me the want to fight, is because if we can believe, if we can believe in God and we can believe in the Bible, then we have nothing to fear.
Absolutely.
And I can't guarantee that the book will make you that fearless, but it has me. And I guess in the beginning I said it was an experience that changed my life. It changed everything. My hope would be that it would do the same for those that read. To read the book. It's also on audio book. It's also on. You can get it on. Can't think of it right now, but audiobooks you can get. You can also get it in an ebook. But that's what I would hope that my experiences and my stories can lift you up and put you to work, actually. And sometimes have to take a deep breath, and I know I do, because sometimes I end up in places that I'm not even sure why I'm there. But God gives me the words to do the job that, like I said, I may not even known I was doing at the time. That's how remarkable it is to ask God for help. And so changed everything for me. It can change everything for you. I hope. That's my hope.
I love it. I love it. Listen, there's so many other things that I wanted to go into, and there were so many other reflections that I wanted to offer. Honestly, that last answer that he gave, I think is the perfect way to close out. Because, listen, he's talking about death, but I feel like in the way that you described it, Calvin, because I'm there with you, man. I believe, because, listen, of course, yes, when someone leaves this earth and they are no longer here for you to see and speak and to hold, yes, that's a depressing time. There's something that's really sad about that. But as he stated, if you're a believer, I look at it differently. I look at it like him, death is a liberation, right?
Yes.
It's a freedom. And I think that there is a lot of power in that. I mean, I think, again, when we shift our perception, if you choose to look at it that way, it can almost be empowering, right? And again, I think that there's so much to be gained there. People, listen, we're going to close out here now, because if you're like me, you're sold, okay? You know what you got to do. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, CalvinCassady.com. You have to head on over there. You have to pick up your books. If this hasn't moved you, you're asleep, okay? You need to wake up or you're going to get passed by. There is so much wisdom to be gained, so much wisdom we've already covered in this short interview. Imagine what you're going to find on those pages. It's called Bridging the Gap, A Spiritual Journey to Heaven and Back by Calvin Cassady. Head on over to those places today. Pick up your copies. Grab a gift for someone else to put on their shelf. You can thank me later, because this has so much to offer. Calvin, this has been a true pleasure, an absolute delight. Thank you once again for being a guest on People of Distinction.
Thank you for allowing me to share.